Hey, and welcome back to my corner. Now, this is not the usual kind of video I make because normally I do different gaming stuff, or maybe every once in a while it's just because school's been really busy. I do one of the summary videos, but this video came specifically from the news about the BSA rebranding, which something you won't hear will actually take effect in February of 2025. So that's been circulating a lot in the news, and I found this video from Brett Cooper that, okay, Brett Cooper, does she have some good takes? Yes, but does she have some egregiously bad takes? Yes, and this is one of them. And really, the only reason I actually did make this video is because it applies to the Boy Scouts, and that's my realm. As an Eagle Scout myself, that is my realm, and honestly, I think she doesn't know what she's talking about. But I don't know. I want to keep this friendly, civil. I don't want it to be some kind of, like, screaming at each other kind of thing. No, like, I don't hate her, I don't hate anyone, like that. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, let's get right into it.
So I might have mentioned this to you guys before, but when I was a kid, I desperately wanted to be a Boy Scout. I mean, all three of my brothers are Eagle Scouts. My parents were Scout leaders and Cub Scout leaders. Like, I grew up in that world. Everything they did sounded so much fun. You know, they would come home for the camping trips. I just, like, desperately wanted to go. And, you know, as a tomboy, I wanted to camp. I wanted to backpack. I wanted to rock climb and start fires, build things, not craft and just sell Thin Mints, which in my area, that's really all the Girl Scouts focus on.
So Brett says that the Girl Scouts in her area weren't exactly very outdoorsy, shall we say, and all they really did was sell Thin Mints, which, okay, I can see why you wouldn't want to join the Girl Scouts there, and the appeal of the Boy Scouts, I guess, but that doesn't necessarily mean there aren't other outdoorsy activities to do outside of the Boy Scouts. Now, granted, the Boy Scouts is a more, I guess, convenient way of being outdoorsy and learning the outdoor skills, as she later says, learning how to tie a tourniquet. But surely that's not the only way you can learn how to do that. Now, from the Girl Scouts that I do know that are now in the Boy Scouts that I've interacted with, their universal answer is the Boy Scouts is better. So I think this is more addressing the BSA themselves. I think a better approach would have been if the BSA really wanted to let girls in, have them have their own program, let them have their own space and not just lump them in with the men, because I'm sure that not all women are perfectly comfortable in every situation when they're just around guys all the time. And and my own experience, same thing with girls. I'm sure that girls want to just have their own girl time as much as, I mean, I know I want to get away from girls sometimes, just be with other guys, enjoy, have fun, that kind of thing. And before I move on, I want to give credit to Brett here and her mom, actually, for recognizing it is a male space and not to intrude on that. I guess that's my best wording.
Joining the Boy Scouts was not an option. Obviously, duh. My mom was like, suck it up, babe. There's nothing you can do.
Then she just states the fact that back in 2019, girls were then allowed to join the Boy Scouts. And now with the rebranding to Scouting America, that happened. But this is where I start to disagree with her more so.
Scouting, and here's their new logo, Scouting America.
Wait a second. That golden border. I used that golden border. All right, fact check. I actually did a check on this, and the color code for that golden border is E9B009, and the color code for my border is FFC90E. So it's not exactly the same, so it's probably just a complete coincidence, but I find it funny that one of the staff was just like watching one of my videos and just said, hey, good idea, why not use it? I just find it funny, so I choose to believe that.
Ah, yes, inclusivity, the name of the game. That is the name of the game in 2024. I mean, it's crazy that having gendered spaces for both men and women equally is just not good enough. That is not inclusive enough. No, I'm so sorry. Let's just blur all the lines. Let's make it all genderless so that it's all inclusive.
Now, I had to watch that clip a few times again and again to really figure out what she was talking about, and I still don't really know. Is she talking about gendered spaces in that there was the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts, and that... Because she just acknowledged that girls have been able to be in the Boy Scouts since 2019. Or is she under the impression that they really were separate spaces? Even though how that works is technically there is the girls' own troop and the guys' own troop, and they're separate troops technically. But often you find that the guys in the girls' troop, they effectively run as one troop, even though technically they have a female scoutmaster for the female troop, and technically they're two different troops. So I don't really know what she's talking about here. Clarification would be great. She talks about comments on the Twitter post the BSA made regarding this name change, and no, I'm never going to call it X, it's Twitter, that's a better name, X is a stupid name, but I digress. And the comments were negatively responding to this. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't exactly like the name change either, but it does make sense that it happened, because 5 years now, the girls have been allowed to join the Boy Scouts, so it's not just boys. So it makes sense because I guess what I'm trying to say is, the problem didn't start now. It at least started in 2019, when they allowed girls into the Boy Scouts.
Now, in their official press release, they offered some more clarifying information, which newsflash did not clarify anything at all. Did not help the situation in the slightest. But they said this announcement also comes as the organization celebrates the 5th anniversary of welcoming girls into Cub Scouting and Scouts BSA programs. Scouting America currently serves more than 172,000 girls and young women across all programs, including over 6,000 who have earned the rank of Eagle Scout.
So Brett actually misquotes it here. She says there are 172,000 girls and young women. The actual number is 176, but the point is still transmitted. Also, she says the statement clarifies nothing. I don't know if I'm taking any crazy pills or anything, but that is a clarifying statement. It tells you why the name change was made. It's because there are girls in the Boy Scouts now. And not that I think girls should be in the Boy Scouts, and it's not just me. Almost every single guy I've talked to either says they're happy that girls are in there because they're sisters in the Boy Scouts now, but otherwise they don't like the move. They don't like the move at all, or they don't have opinion. Overwhelming majority of guys I've talked to actually don't like that girls are now in the Boy Scouts, but that doesn't change that that's still the reason why the name change was made.
And I'm like, it grinds my gears because on principle, I know that this is wrong. Women should not be Eagle Scouts because Boy Scouts are for boys.
Yes, correct. Stop, please stop there. Stop while you're ahead.
But I'm so jealous also because I wanted to be one. And my mother would have never let me, but I'm angry at the whole situation. Whatever, you guys are gonna think that's ridiculous.
Fuck. Let me spin it this way. I know on principle that men shouldn't be in women's sports because it's wrong. Men shouldn't be in women's sports. But I'm just so jealous of the men that get to play in women's sports because I wanted to and my dad just wouldn't let me. You see how that sounds? Also, Brett, you talk about how you were a tomboy back in those days, which, alright, maybe you would be, because I've run into, generally, when we're dealing with girls in the Boy Scouts, I've run into two types of girls. One type of girl is they actually go along with the program, which is about half, maybe. And then the other half is just sitting there doing girly things, God knows what. And it's like, we're not here to use the eyelash straighteners, okay? Stop offering me that. That actually happened to me when I was at summer camp over the summer. But another problem with women being in the Boy Scouts is they often feminize it a lot to the point where it ruins the program. And it's like, we let you the BSA let you in to do the kind of things we do. Stop trying to ruin it. And to be clear, not all women do that, but there's a significant portion that does. Like, interesting anecdote, when I was at summer camp over the summer, and there was one, I mean, there were a few girl troops there, but one of them specifically was just woke woman right there. And she was one of the SPLs, so I was at the SPL meeting, and she was complaining that some of the camp songs was like sexist because boys make the girls go round and round, and vice versa. And I was the only one going like, are you insane? Pretty much all the other SPLs actually agreed with me in private, but no one else said anything at the moment. Including the female SPLs, by the way. Now, before I go any further, I do want to clarify something. I've met some plenty of nice girls in the Boy Scouts that are perfectly good people that are not, like, they're good people. So, by no means am I saying this because it's just like, oh no, I don't like women. No. It's, you're great, and I'm glad I met you, but the principle still stands. I just want to be clear with that.
Anyway, they went on, and the president said, though our name will be new, our mission remains unchanged. Does it, though?
Yes. Yes, it is unchanged. The mission is still unchanged. It's the only thing that's changed with letting the girls in, which happened 5 years ago, is that it expanding that to girls. That's the only difference here. It's not like any values changed.
I think your mission has changed.
Okay, despite the fact that she has brothers that apparently 3 brothers, as she stated, that were all Eagle Scouts, which congratulations to them, by the way. Despite her saying she has that them and familiar, things like this kind of make me think that she doesn't know what she's talking about when it comes to the Boy Scouts, because it hasn't. It just hasn't. And her saying, it changed, I think it's changed. Alright, you can think something, but that doesn't make it true. Probably, now I could be wrong, probably the extent of her knowledge of the Boy Scout goes to, alright, Eagle Scout is the highest rank, my brothers are Eagle Scouts, they go on campouts ever so often, they're Eagle Court of Honors, which are big ceremonies, and they're important, and the BSA exists. That's probably all she knows, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
We are committed to teaching young people to be prepared. Do you want to get more specific about that? What kind of young people? Men? I think that's what you've been doing for over 100 years, so I think the mission has changed, buddy.
No. Again, that's not evidence that the mission's changed. He says, or whoever said the quote, said young people instead of young men, because, yeah, 100 years, it's been boys only, but you forget that 5 years ago, women were allowed to join. So it's not just men anymore. So young people is the correct term. Again, this makes me think you don't know what you're talking about.
Preparing young people for life. This will be a simple but very important evolution as we seek to ensure that everyone feels welcome in scouting. Everyone did feel welcome. That's why this is so ridiculous. There was boy and girl scouts.
Granted, that line just sounds like a bunch of nonsense jargon that is used by management, that the people who genuinely have no idea what's going on. But, again, inclusion, there were already boy and girl scouts. Do you mean there was the Boy Scouts and there was the Girl Scouts? Or do you mean there were guys and girls both in the Boy Scouts before the name change? Again, what are you talking about?
And if you were a girl like me who was more of a tomboy and wanted to do rough and tumble things with the boys, and your local Girl Scout chapter didn't offer that, you just wouldn't join. And you would suck it up and you would deal with it because that's life, and things often don't go like you planned. I mean, I wanted to be out in the woods at a campsite learning how to put on a tourniquet, but you know what? That didn't happen. Now it is, though, thanks to—
Nope, no. We are not going into that territory. No. We are not going to include this ad. So to address what you said before the ad, it really makes me think the only reason you said that was to do the ad, and it seems not really genuine in any way. Like, it's just said to get the ad. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. It really does seem like you are kind of salty that that you weren't able to join the Boy Scouts. Even though you're also saying, if even though you're a tomboy like her, how she was, and the Girl Scout troops that chapters didn't have that, suck it up. It seems like she's having a hard time taking her own advice. I mean, that's just me.
You will not be disappointed. Get prepared, because the Boy Scouts of America is not going to teach you that anymore.
That was just a completely needless and baseless dig at the BSA. What the hell?
I mean, heck, many Boy Scout chapters didn't even do that and focus less on outdoorsy things because of their location or the commitment of their troop leaders. Like, it's just absurd. Like, men deserve spaces of their own, just like women. It should not be controversial to say that.
Yes, true. What each troop does is dependent on what the adults are willing to put into it and what the kids are willing to put in it. That's true. So not every troop is going. I know the troop I was a part of is, and still phasing out of, but I still help around a little bit. That we are a much more casual troop than some of the other troops, but we still get our stuff done. But some troops are much less hiking oriented than others. I know our troop isn't as hiking oriented as others. We still do it, but I mean, you get what you put into it, I'd say. Also, stating that men should have their own spaces just like women should have their own spaces, that's good, that's true, that's correct. But then you say things like this.
But I'm so jealous also because I wanted to be one. And my mother would have never let me, but I'm angry at the whole situation. Whatever, you guys are going to think that's ridiculous.
And it kind of just undermines what you're saying right there.
Male camaraderie and community is vital. They need to play together. They need to learn together. They need to fight together. They need to push themselves away from girls. Just like girls need spaces to grow together away from men. That is important.
And you still get that within, the inter-troop dynamic, depending on the troop you're in. But a problem with the fighting, men need to fight together. That really, I mean, think about BSA. You've got some parents, not everyone, but you've got some people who are like, some individual did something wrong. Let's just blame the National, even though they had nothing to do with this. And the National gets sued, and it partly goes into what you're going to say later about the lawsuits. And it's a whole awful mess of partly you can't, because some of these parents, some of these kids are just so against that. Like, here's a little anecdote from, I keep mentioning Cherry Valley, but it's so true. We had Goggle, I don't know if you're familiar with the game called Goggle Ball. If you're not, look it up. But there was a Goggle Ball ring in the camp, and that was extremely popular among the guys. We all got to compete. I even won a round, which was fun, like first place. But it was fun. It was competitive. It was not the thing. Like, guys didn't go to that instead of merit badge classes, but that's where we spent all our free time because it's fun. It's a good thing to do, and not all the women, but there were, from my understanding of what happened, it was a lot of these like adult leader women that were kind of conniving to get rid of it. And they were satisfied in getting rid of it. Now, again, not everyone, but that's my kind of understanding. So, that also leads into why that just doesn't work anymore. It's because what I was saying earlier about the feminization of the Boy Scouts. And again, not every woman does this, but it's still a significant problem.
But guys, there is something so much more sinister happening behind the scenes. This is their last-ditch effort to save the entire organization.
I don't know where you're getting that from, but wherever you're getting it from, please state where you're getting that from. I mean, looking at the original video Let's see. Are there any sources in the description? Sources in the description. Oh, nope, no sources in the description. That's very helpful.
I don't know if you guys have followed the Boy Scouts of America news. My family and I obviously do because of our involvement, but take a look at this headline from a few years ago. The list of Boy Scout leaders accused of has nearly 3,000 more names than previously known. And that was in 2019. So obviously I'm sitting here watching this video, reading the press conference, and I'm thinking, okay, so you guys have some baggage? You're trying to rebrand in the public eye so you can avoid more scandal?
In an attempt to actually research this, I found the AP article that she uses in her video, and it actually talks about the sexual assault case right here. It's not listed as a reason for the rebrand, so as far as I can find, that's a correlation, but correlation does not necessarily equal causation. And then Brett Cooper also mentions the CNN article, which I also found. And of course, all of these sources will be linked in the description. All of the ones that I've found and I've used will be in the link in the description. Yes, there are some fucked up adults who do awful things to children. There are also some older up scouts that do awful things to children. That happens just like in any other case. There are, whether it's the public school system or it's the Catholic Church, which, yeah, that's also something we could talk about, but I'm not gonna because it's unrelated. Yes, that happens there. It happens. But it's not the National's fault. The National is doing everything it can to stop this kind of thing from happening. Now, something Brett Cooper doesn't mention is the adult training you have to do and the background checks you have to go through. Now, whether because, again, she didn't do her research or she just doesn't know, I don't know, but there's this thing called Too Deep Leadership, which is you need 2 adult leaders at least on all campouts, and no adult can be alone with one of the scouts. Which makes sense, because you don't know if that one adult is some creep or not. To clarify, even though a lot of these, or probably most of these creeps, get weeded out through the background check systems and the fingerprinting you have to do, that doesn't mean you're gonna get every single one of them. So it's another safeguard, which is a good thing. And it significantly lowers chances of anything between the two happening. That's good. That's a measure. But often what these lawsuits do, which again, these are accusations. These aren't necessarily proofs of guilt. And even if they were, it's not the National's fault. It's the up individual, not the national level.
This is from an article this week, and they wrote, the Boy Scouts' $2.4 billion bankruptcy reorganization plan took effect last year, allowing the organization to keep operating while compensating more than 80,000 men who say that they were as children while scouting.
Nothing says credible like some article that who knows who actually wrote it. It's never said who wrote it. It's never, there are no sources. It's never, all that's said is it was written this week. Now, or this past week. Now, I can write an article, let me open up notepads. Let me write, BSA is bad because I say so, and it's horribly spelled, but whatever. That's technically an article if I publish it. So, that doesn't mean it's credible. So again, I ask, what are your sources? She also says in this article that apparently has an anonymous writer, I don't know, that there were 80,000 men coming forward, in my own words, coming forward that saying they were sexually abused. Now, assuming they're all telling the truth, because I guarantee you, there are some people who are telling the truth, and then there are some people who are just lying for God knows what. It's like with the hashtag Me Too. Why do people lie? Because people lie. It doesn't always happen, but it does sometimes happen. But let's assume the 80,000 is true. This number is not, there's no timeline stating that it happened specifically from 5 years ago to now, because if it did, that would be ranging from like 5 to 10% or something, just off the top of my head, of all Boy Scouts that came forward for sex. And obviously that's a sign of a much more systematic problem. But this seems to be a number over the course of time. Now, in the 70s, when this was peak, there were about 5 million Boy Scouts, and there are about 1 million today. So let's give the generous, and I'm sure there have been more Boy Scouts over the history of time, but let's say there are only 6 million Boy Scouts. 80,000 divided by 6, okay, hang on, divided by 6 million. That is about a 1.333 repeating forever % chance that you will actually, that is 1.333 repeating % of all Boy Scouts. Even that's a way lowball number, like number of Boy Scouts. But that's kind of to show you how rare this is, like how rare this actually is. And this number is being extremely generous to, Brett Cooper's argument, because I guarantee you, without doing any research, I guarantee you, there have been more than 6 million Boy Scouts over the course of time. I mean, pre-pandemic, there were like 2 million active Boy Scouts at the time, and now that's kind of dropped to 1 million because of the pandemic. Now, obviously, we should take steps to lower this from the 1.3 repeating % down to as close to 0 as we can get. But it's not, but let's be honest with ourselves, this is not this mass case of your child is unsafe if he's in the Boy Scouts.
Now, obviously, this is awful, and as somebody whose family was so involved, my brothers obviously had such an amazing experience. This is heartbreaking because this organization was such an institution. It was such a beacon of moral righteousness and goodness, and to watch it just crumble and become absolutely backwards and sinister and now completely politically cucked is so sad.
Was and is, I think you mean and is, because it's not like the BSA did a 180 flip on their values. Now, don't take me as some BSA bootlicker, because I'm definitely not. I have plenty of criticisms with the BSA, the national level. For one, letting girls in. I've been against that since 2019, since I was 13 years old. Since it happened, I have been against it. One. And two, there's something that Brett Cooper doesn't mention, but I think is worth mentioning. The Citizenship in Society Merit Badge, which is the new Eagle Required Merit Badge, which is essentially DEI Wokeness 101, which maybe there are some people who take it seriously, but the vast majority of people I know, we just brush it off. We don't take it seriously. It's more like a checkbox. It's like, I listened to some stupid shit, and went in one ear, went out the other. So that's most experiences, but again, that's still wrong, and that should be condemned. The Citizenship and Society Merit Badge. But those are really my only 2 big gripes with the BSA. Now, those things are important, don't get me wrong, but they're not on the level that the BSA just doesn't care about their values anymore. It's their values they abandon their values.
If you wanted to save the last shred of integrity of an organization that was so instrumental in the lives of millions and millions of young men and families like mine, this is the last thing you should have done. You should have gone back to tradition. You should have recommitted yourself to building up and protecting good, moral men. I mean, the least you could do was try and remember your actual Scout's oath.
Now, Brett Cooper proceeds to read off the Scout oath off her little teleprompter, which is cute. Recommitted yourself to building up good, moral men. In what way does the BSA not do this in the modern day? My experiences, I have not found one that I don't know what she's talking about. This seems like it's something coming out of her ass. I don't know.
It's such a profound line. Bring God and country and morality back to BSA.
Again, it's getting to the point where you're hurting my head. Do you just not know? I really am starting to think you don't know what you're talking about. Because those things, they never left the BSA. They never did. Okay, I genuinely don't know what you're talking about.
That is what you should have been doing. I mean, if you're not going to shut down.
Whoa, hang on a second. Shutting down. Really? 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 You hurt my brain.
Then actually try to fix the rot in your organization. Say, yes, we screwed up. We are committed to changing this. We obviously realize that we need good men more than ever, and that you are going to make big changes to help foster that.
All right. I give up. She's just pulling crap out of her ass at this point. Like that. What the hell even is that? Then she talks about some passage from the original 1911 Boy Scout handbook, blah, blah, blah.
This is embarrassing. But you know what? Your time is up. So parents, look for organizations like Trail Life USA, Alert Cadet. Those are all organizations that I've heard of that popped up over the past few years as Boy Scouts has just gone off the rails. They seem like great organizations and alternatives to BSA, because the values and the programs that once made Boy Scouts of America so great and so impactful, they are still out there and they are more important than ever. You just have to look harder to find them. And you should not be looking at Scouting of America or whatever the heck they want to be called.
Now, I think she's like very, very, very wrong here, because the national, there are really only two objectionable things they've done, at least that I've seen so far, that I know of. The letting girls into the Boy Scouts and the DEI merit badge. Two things, those are relatively minor. That's it. The sexual assault stuff, that's not their fault. That's more the fucked up individuals rather than national. Okay? Now, alright, if you don't want to join the Boy Scouts, that's up to you. I'm not criticizing people who don't want to. Even if you're promoting other organizations like whatever Brett Cooper mentioned, which I'd never heard of before watching this video, you can do that, that's fine. But don't have this honestly horrid take be the reason why you don't join the Boy Scouts. I actually did a little research on both the organizations Brett Cooper mentioned, and to one being called Trail Life USA, which from the looks of it seems like a Christian knockoff version of the BSA, which, alright, I mean, it's something they want to do, that's fine. That go right ahead. And the other one being Alert Cadet, which is, it seems less like a Boy Scout thing and more like an actual military thing, but not, I guess. But again, if you want to do those things, you're free to do them. I'm not saying you should do the Boy Scouts instead of those things. I mean, I'm going to promote the Boy Scouts because that's what I went through. But, you know, everyone's different. But again, this is a horrid take. Please talk to actual Boy Scouts instead of people who don't know what they're talking about. We're finally through the whole video. That was kind of painful. Like, it started out nice, fine, I guess, but then it just got painful. So, you know what? Thank you so much for watching my brain rot. If you did like this video, go ahead and follow the channel. Or if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. See ya!